You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Good morning. So glad you're here. Life is sweet here at Flo's Focus. Pull up a chair. The coffee's perked, so go ahead, pour yourself a cup. Let's have some fun and see what we can find to explore today.
We have a special guest today, and I don't know if she's feeling a little shy or not, but here at KLRN Radio, at Flo's Focus, we know how to make people feel right at home. So let's do that. Hi.
So, Julie, how's Michigan these days?
Been crazy weather, but it's been pretty good. I'm just hoping that we start warming up again, like it was today with the sunshine and actually getting spring.
Oh, nice.
I don't know.
Good. I hope so too.
I personally think we need to fire the groundhog.
You think?
Yes.
Well, I saw a picture the other day, and it was of the groundhog with a shotgun, and it looked like he was dead, and it said it was something about because he had predicted spring to come 6 weeks early, so, he had done himself in. So yeah. He's not working no more. I actually saw the groundhog, one of them up in, I think, Pennsylvania, the one that they always, like to use for various predictions. Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. So, what do you like about Michigan, Julie?
I like the weather changes, the fact that I like the Great Lakes. I go all over the state. I go and spend some time up in Sheboygan, which is not far from Traverse City or Mackinac. And then I like, we have different communities here. So if you want to escape to the rural country, you can escape, and there's farmland. If you want urban Detroit, you can go to Detroit. There's big cities that you can go to, Grand Rapids, Lansing, if you want all the hustle and bustle. And then if you just want to relax, you can always go up north and commute. You can find woods. So there's a lot of different things. And believe it or not, little trivia thing, the guy that made the snow for Sochi and also for the recent Olympics in South Korea, Daejeon, is from Michigan.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this one guy from Michigan over near, I think it's Boyne Mountain area or outside of Traverse City, somewhere around Charlotte, whatever. He's the one that the Olympics, the IOC and the Olympics and different countries go to do snow making. So
sounds very interesting.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of different things here in Michigan, like, we're supposed to be the cherry capital in Traverse City, so they have a big cherry festival. And then of course, if you want fudge and no cars, you go to Mackinac Island. And there's a lot of historical about Mackinac Island. There's Fort Mackinac, and it was actually Fort Mackinac used to be used during, I think, the Civil War or one of the Spanish-American, some war that we've been involved in. But there's a lot of history in it. And then it's, like in Detroit, they have so many festivals. And actually, one of the things we are very, we have the upcoming Techno Movement Festival, which is actually was started as the Electronic Music Festival, and Detroit actually is the birthplace for electronic music, which, in my opinion, it's not for me, but for some people, that's it. But we also have one of the largest jazz festivals, Labor Day weekend. And what's really nice is we have international artists from all over the United States and all over from other countries come in. And they have stages throughout Detroit, Hart Plaza, Campus Martius, other little areas. And Detroit is coming back. The old Packard plant is being revitalized. The train station now has windows. Our old train station now has windows and an elevator. And actually, Ford, I believe it's Ford Motor Company, thinking about moving into it. And they're trying to buy the building from the current owner, which would be really awesome if they could do that and turn it into something. There's a lot of new restaurants popping up and a lot of small businesses popping up. But we've also had our downsides, like I'm sure you heard about the Flint water crisis.
Oh, that sounded horrible.
It's still going on, and they just cut off all the bottled water. And there's people who still have lead-contaminated pipes in their house.
Oh my!
So, and they can't afford to get the pipes, replaced because we have there's some poverty. It's poverty and stuff like that. So, how
big of a problem has that been in Michigan? I know it's been all over the news, so obviously pretty big. So, with you living there firsthand, you can tell us more, though.
It's a big thing because now there's future generations of children that are totally affected by this because of the lead causing developmental disabilities and brain development issues. There's a lot of things how it could affect their health, and they have to. I guess these kids have to constantly be monitored and have blood tests run and things to see, their blood levels. And so it's going to be a constant, long term, very long term. Some of these kids are showing, already showing signs of delayed development and delay in mental capacity. So they don't know what the long-term effects are going to be with this.
Wow.
So.
And you say it's still going on as well.
Yeah, because people still have stuff in their old pipes, the
pipes and things,
contaminated pipes, and a lot of. So it's going to be an ongoing thing, and unfortunately. And then the other thing recently that happened, and is that Nestle was given permission to pump out double their pumping for bottled water, but they're not paying much to the state. Like they're not and they're making a mint off of it. So one of the things that a lot of people in that area in Everett are not happy about it because they don't know what kind of environmental impact that could have.
Tell me more about that. I'm interested. What can you share with me about that? You've shared so much, but I just can't imagine what it must be like living with that on a daily basis and seeing people's lives so impacted by it.
Yeah, the thing is like, I know that Tide came in with their trucks so that people could do wash, and there was a lot of stuff happening, and now I guess some celebrities have stepped up to buy, to help buy cases of water and provide water and things. So there's a few celebrities that have stepped up, national celebrities. I know that like Mark Wahlberg, and I'm not sure exactly who, but I've heard is that there's celebrities that are, and some churches that are some religious organizations that are stepping up to help.
Good.
So the thing is just getting the people to come together, and hopefully more people will realize and say, okay, we're going to help. And this is what we should be doing is that we've been helping out people, and not just being self-centered. And so.
Absolutely. Well, do you know much about when it actually began?
It was a couple of years ago, and what happened is that the emergency financial manager, to save money, went and decided to go off of not use the Detroit Water Department and get the water from Lake Huron. So they made a decision to get the water from the Flint River. Well, that river is so contaminated by some of the industries in the area, and they were warned about it, and they didn't listen, and they said, well, we'll do it. But the problem is that they weren't filtering the water and purifying it so that it could be used as drinking water.
Sure.
And that's what and GM couldn't GM was having problems because they wanted to start building cars in Flint. Well, the problem came was when the paint they were having issues with the paint staying on the cars. So that was one of the things but they also had cases of Legionnaire's disease that was not where some people died. And I guess there's charges being brought up against some officials, and our governor should be part of that too, because he knew what was going on, even though he keeps playing like he doesn't. But they haven't done anything yet. That doesn't mean when he steps out of office that they won't do something. And he's using taxpayers' fund to pay for his legal fees too, which I'm not happy about. Especially when he just bought a $1 million condo in Ann Arbor.
So who is this individual that you're talking about right now?
Our governor, Rick Schneider.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'm really careful because I know that, but he really should be, he knew what was going on, and he pled that he swore he didn't know, but he had been it was brought to his attention.
Sure.
As governor of a state, the governor knows what's going on unless he or she turns their back on everything and everything, or they're real that who he surrounds himself with is not being truthful. But I honestly believe he knew exactly what was going on. Nothing, and he needs to suffer the consequences just as much as some of those other people are suffering. So.
Well, they sure are suffering and especially with the children. That's sad when you think of, the pregnant women that had the babies and then had the complications.
Right.
The children are.
And the thing is that Flint has a large minority community, so there's a lot of Hispanics, and there's also African Americans and other. It's a very diversified, but it's one of the poorer cities, should I say? So a lot of people are living off. A lot of people are getting assistance and stuff like that. The other thing that the state told these people is that if you move out of Flint, your children will not be covered for lead exposure, which is wrong, because if a parent or a legal guardian feels that moving out of Flint and moving to a different area is better for their child or for them, for their health reasons, then that should not. To me, I see it as a threat, and that's not the way it should be.
Not only that, being a nurse, I am aware that, you can move to another location, and there's lots of places that have, for whatever reason, it's maybe state funded. I don't get into all that, but I do know that children can come in and be treated for anything. It doesn't matter what it is. And if it's lead poisoning, they would certainly treat them for that too. That's just a scare tactic,
but
I believe.
They're also testing schools in Detroit now, and one of the schools in Detroit, they actually had to bring in water coolers because the drinking fountains, they were testing water throughout the school areas, and they found out that some of their water supply did have a high time. Now, more likely in that scenario, it was because the school is old and the pipes, it's in the pipes. It's not something like, we were pulling it out of the Flint River type thing. It's more of,
old
the
pipes.
school was an old building,
Sure.
built back in a lot of these schools that they have in Detroit were built back in the 1950s, and so things have changed. I know that they've started building new schools and tearing down some of the old schools. What they do is they build a new school next to the old school on the same property, and they tear down the old school. And because they did that with Cass Tech, where the old school was like right across the street, and the new school got built on the other side. And they've done that with a couple of different schools that they've torn down and rebuilt a brand new school. Because some of the schools, that's part of the thing, is like they were talking about doing year-round schools, and the problem is that a lot of the older schools don't have air conditioning, so it makes it difficult.
Yeah, it would. I understand that this issue is not only happening in Michigan now, it's starting to spread elsewhere in the United States too. So, of course, it would make sense with, lead pipes that we've had in the past and, all that sort of thing throughout the state.
Well, it's also the fact that stuff is being allowed to be dumped into our water supplies.
Sure.
And the thing about it is it happened in West Virginia with coal soot, and it's going to happen again. And the thing about it is that we have to protect our environment.
Absolutely.
We are the managers of our environment. And what I just watched on the news about plastic and how it's affecting our water supply, getting into our water, oceans and even the Great Lakes. Right. And here everyone wants to drink from bottled water, but the thing about it is no one's recycling the bottles. And so they're ending up in our water, these bottles, which take like 450 years to finally break down, are, the fish eat. And then, of course, the cosmetics that have the beads, so that, for, what is it, exfoliation or whatever. So, those beads that they put into cosmetics like soaps and things, or toothpaste.
Oh, sure.
Well, that's getting into our water supply.
Yes.
These microbeads, those are plastic.
Isn't that sad? Oh, well, no matter, it's just sad that, no matter, we talk a lot about politics off and on, but in this world it seems, but no matter what side you're on, whether you're Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. We still are responsible for our water and for environmental issues. And it's important that we address these. And it seems like the whole world has gotten caught up just almost strictly with politics, and some of the other issues that are so important are being overlooked. I think that's kind of sad in a way. I know it's important to talk politics, but once in a while we need to take time to talk about environment too and do something about it too. So, I just feel people need to understand absolutely
that we need to be the we need to take care of our environment.
Exactly.
Caretakers,
we need to be caretakers for our world. Absolutely.
For my 2 cents on this, Governor said, and I quote, "I have said all along that ensuring the quality of the water in Flint and helping the people in the city move forward were a top priority for me and my team. We have worked diligently to restore the water quality, and the scientific data now proves the water system is stable and the need for bottled water has ended," said Governor Rick Snyder. And then he continued, "For the past 2 years, I have repeatedly been asked when I would declare the water safe in Flint, and I've always said that no arbitrary decision would be made, that we would let the science take us to that conclusion. Since Flint's water is now within the standards set by the federal government, we will now focus even more of our efforts on continuing with the health, education, and economic development assistance needed to help move Flint forward. I remain steadfast in that commitment." End of quote. But he was warned ahead of time that the water wasn't safe, and he did nothing about it. You know, it may be safe now, and it may be okay to drink now, but I can certainly understand Julie's concern over this water and if it is safe to drink, and why are they ending the bottled water. It's kind of spooky in a way. It sounds like it's safe, but then after all they've been through, I really, really understand what they have gone through, and I just feel so sorry for the people in Flint. I think the issue of water is one that both Democrats and Republicans agree on because they need water to live. It's just that plain and simple. It's an area that we can begin working together on, but we're not talking about this. And water is becoming more and more scarce in our planet. We need to start talking about pure, clear water. What are we going to do when we don't have this that we've always really taken for granted? But people that live in Flint and elsewhere are learning you really can't take it for granted anymore. What do you do when you don't have water? Back in the colonial days, people were afraid of water, and they didn't wash real often. They drank minimum amount of water because they felt like it carried germs, which it probably did, even though it was much purer in those days because there were less people around. But still, the germs, the pathogens that were in the water could have been death, could have meant death for them. So I can understand why they were afraid of water at that point in time. We have since, for a while, we had very good water, and now with the lead pipes coming into play, we're starting to have issues again in other areas than just Flint, that is. The average adult human body is 50 to 65% water, averaging around 57 to 60%. The percentage of water in infants is much higher, typically around 75 to 78% water, dropping to 65% by 1 year of age. Body composition varies according to gender and fitness level because fatty tissue contains less water than lean tissue. And now you know a little bit more of the story. Did you know that your body consisted of that much water?
It's about time and we're getting close to where we need to probably stop and take a little pause, and then we can come right back and talk some more about Michigan. I just want to take a little pause so that we can pay those bills to keep our radio station alive and active.
The average adult human body is 50 to 65% water, averaging around 57 to 60%. The percentage of water in infants is much higher, typically around 75 to 78% water, dropping to 65% by 1 year of age. Body composition varies according to gender and fitness level because fatty tissue contains less water than lean tissue. Did you know that your body consisted of that much water? And now you know a little bit more of the story.
It's about time and we're getting close to where we need to probably stop and take a little pause, and then we can come right back and talk some more about Michigan. I just want to take a little pause so that we can pay those bills to keep our radio station alive and active.
Old Dan and I, with throats burned dry and souls that cry for water, cool, clear water.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
The nights are cool and I'm a fool. Each star's a pool. Cool water.
Was there anything else you wanted to say about Flint or the water supply? I think that is such a significant issue. Okay, then.
No, but I do want to say I want to change subject and talk a little bit about something that's kind of near and dear to me that I volunteer for. I volunteer for one of, it's not the oldest parade, okay? But it's going to be turning 92. I volunteer for a nonprofit organization called the Parade Company.
Oh,
and
great.
we put on America's Thanksgiving Parade presented by Art Van. And it's a 3-mile parade on Thanksgiving morning. And I started volunteering I think I'm going on my 10th year now. And I love it. I absolutely love it. The volunteers that I volunteer with and this organization acknowledges its volunteers. We sometimes get tickets for baseball games and for not hockey, but football and for basketball games and other events. Most recently, we just had National Volunteer Week, and we received coupons for Potbelly sandwiches and everything. But what I love about it is I use it as a form of therapy for me. Whenever I'm feeling down or something like that, I go into the Parade Company and I help paint, or I help put chicken wire on floats. We're starting to build our floats for this year's parade. And we are actually televised in 180 affiliates of, I think it's NBC. Yeah, it's NBC, Channel 4. WDIV, but Channel 4, I believe it's NBC. And we're seen in 180 cities across the country, from California, Washington State. And what I've heard is, I think there's a station in Hawaii too, but.
Oh, great.
But anyways, if you can't get it in your city, you can actually live stream it on your computer. But but unlike Macy's, and I'm not knocking Macy's, we actually build our floats, and everything's done in-house in our studio. And our studio, believe it or not, used to be it has a little history to it, and I'm going to have to learn the history more maybe next time, because it's related to military in a way. But it used to be the Dodge Lynch Road plant. And it was designed by Albert Kahn, who was an actual architect, builder in Michigan, but he also built other buildings throughout the country too, I believe. But his big thing was he loved natural light. So this was one of the few auto plants that actually had windows everywhere. So we can actually tell what color we're putting on these floats now, because we were previously, our studio used to be the old Hudson's Warehouse, and then they tore that down, and actually they're building a building there, a new building. Before, we would pull the floats out and, we put the wrong color yellow on, or we put the wrong shade of red. So now we actually make sure that our floats, are right. And everyone that works, we don't have very many employees. We have less than 30 employees. Most of the stuff is done through volunteerism. We have over 3,000 volunteers that volunteer throughout the year. And in January, we have this big, giant volunteer party. And this past year's theme was 80s. And who knows what next year's theme is going to be. But we have a ball. We have a DJ. We have contests. We have a raffle. And they know how to acknowledge the volunteers, and I love it. I feel like it's
great.
Family.
Oh, that's great.
So,
it's so important to do, too.
So if people ever have a chance,
credit, absolutely. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. But if you're ever in Detroit, I'm one of the tour guides for the Parade Company, and we do tours year round. So it's a fun time. We show everyone around. We talk about the history, and we also throw a little comedy into it sometimes. When I first started out with the parade, I thought I would be a banner carrier, and someone talked me out of it and said, no, you got to do balloons. Well, we have people that actually fly those balloons. We're actually what they call balloon handlers, or we like to call ourselves pilots, but the pilots say we can't call ourselves pilots, so we're balloon handlers. And we fly the balloons no matter what the weather. The only thing we will not fly the balloons in is if the wind is over 20 miles an hour, because one, it's a safety risk to the people, and two, it's also a danger, it could cause damage to the balloons. So if you come on the tour, you're going to hear a little bit about one of our balloons, and I don't want to go into it, but we had one balloon that decided to take off before the parade. That's all I could say.
Oh my!
This was several years ago. Yes. And nowadays, if this happened and the balloon went to international airspace, we would have probably an international incident, in the sense of the Canadian Air Force would probably be called in, along with Homeland Security, the Border Patrol, and probably Selfridge Air National Guard Base. We'd probably see the Warthogs, the A-10s going up. So, and we don't need war with Canada. They're a pretty peaceful country.
So. I don't think so.
Nor do we need to build a wall on Canada, But anyway,
it's true.
But anyways, yeah. So our balloons are well taken care of. We now make sure that our balloons have their proper passports, documentation, and we also throw a few snacks on the balloons too, in case they do,
decide to take off.
But our balloon handlers are well trained and somewhat know how to handle incidences, and everything. I mean, although I have one little story. I almost got choked on Kermit the Frog because two of the people weren't paying attention, and all of a sudden I had two ropes crossing, and they were crossing across my neck.
Oh no!
Yes. And then my last year is balloon. I'm no longer doing balloon handling because of my shoulder. The last year I had a girl that was brand new to balloons telling me to walk out further, except for one problem. The road was torn up at the time because they were putting the new Q line in, which is our light rail system on Woodward, and it only goes about 3 miles down 3 miles of Woodward. We're hoping eventually we'll get it going into the suburbs, but at this point right now it's only going through Detroit. But they were building the queue line, and this girl asked me to move over, and I looked at her and I said, if I move over, are you going to pay my medical bills? She says, why? I said, if I move over, I'm going to end up with a broken leg.
Mm-hmm.
I says, and I can't afford to be off work.
That was a good reply, yep.
Needless to say. Yeah. So now what I do is I'm what's called I help the big heads. We have these huge paper mache heads that are made in our studio. Every year we do a new paper mache head of different people from the Detroit area or from Michigan. So we have like Gerald R. Ford. You know who Gerald R. Ford is, don't you?
Sure.
Okay, President Gerald R. Ford.
Sure.
And we also have George Bush Sr., even though and the reason I now know why we have him is because he did spend time in Michigan. He and Barbara spent time in Michigan when he was something, I forgot what they were saying on the news, but so he does have ties to Michigan.
Really? Interesting.
Yes, even though he's from Texas. So we do have, it was something new I learned. So we do have George H. Bush. And then we have some sports celebrities. And then we have Raggedy Ann and Andy. And we have elves. And we have monkeys and gorillas and ostriches. But when people come, but there's a lot of history in Detroit. There's a lot of history that I've been learning. The Riverwalk is being redone. They actually just got the rest of the land to go all the way to the Ambassador Bridge. So it's going to go from Belle Isle Bridge all the way to the Ambassador Bridge. And we have we already have a designer picked out that won the competition, and he actually designed the park in Chicago, Daly Park, and he also designed a park in New York, Brooklyn Park.
Oh, great. So what is the Riverwalk there exactly?
It's on the riverfront, and it spans, I forgot how many miles. It's great because it's got green spaces, and they have a carousel in part of it. They also have a splash park. We have believe it or not, the Riverwalk also goes into the Eastern Market, which is this Eastern Market is where you can get fresh fruits, vegetables, and we have a flower day coming up next month, and that's an annual event, and thousands of people come in for flower day. I try to avoid it because unless you get there at 6 a.m. in the morning, you can't find parking, and you're lucky if you could move around. But
I can see why you...
Yeah. But the Eastern Market area is really beautiful. There's a lot of things going on in the area now. There's actually people moving into some of the buildings. The Eastern Market used to be where like a lot of the produce and meat packing warehouses were. Some of them are still there. There's an old firehouse that's been converted into a Thai restaurant. There's restaurants. There's a lot of stuff. And then, of course, we now have a new park.
Oh, you do? You have a new park?
It's called Beacon Square. It's over by where our electric company is, DT Energy, we call it. It's DT. And we have a brand new park over there. And then we have Midtown, which is where all the museums are, a lot of the museums. And also Wayne State University is there. So it's kind of like a college town, but there's also the medical centers in that area.
Ah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of development going on, a lot of good things going on, and things are good. And actually, one of the streets was closed off. Part of Woodward is now closed off and is actually used. They have a giant chessboard, and in the summertime, they put picnic furniture out, and like people can actually sit and they bring food trucks in, and it's kind of cool. So.
Sounds fun. Speaking of food, one of my favorite restaurants is in Michigan, and that is in Frankenmuth.
Frankenmuth?
Frankenmuth, yeah. The chicken restaurants are so great there. I just love them.
Which one, Zender's or Bavarian Inn?
I've been to both. Do you have a preference?
I usually go to Zender's because I get a free birthday meal.
Well, there you go. I like Zender's a lot. Yeah, it's a nice one. And then across the road, I like them a lot for, I've ate at both, but I like the place. I can't think of the restaurant that's across the road from them. It's with the, what am I wanting to say? The hotel, I guess. And where the Pied Piper clock tower is. You know what I'm talking about? Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Bavarian Inn.
Right, the Bavarian Inn. Thank you. They have the best horns. You know what the almond type crescent horns, I think they are. They're a German type restaurant, isn't it? And of course, it's German.
Yeah,
it's so
they're
good.
both, it's
wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah, they both are. Yeah.
They're just so good. Yes, they are. It's a fun town to be in, I thought, when I was there. So, and I think, like you, Michigan is so scenic. It's got so much beauty there. It's unbelievable. One thing I thought was really cool was how the shape of Michigan, being in a glove like it is. That is just so great. So
a mitten. It is. We're the mitten state.
Yeah, not glove, mitten. Yeah, you're the mitten state. Yep.
And then, really cool. And then we have got the UP. With beautiful forests, and there's waterfalls up there, Picture Rock, all that.
Gorgeous. So, and I also liked that Michigan seems pretty friendly for campers. You know.
Oh yeah.
For being an RV.
We have a lot of
tents, or just however you want to keep.
Yep. We have a lot of camping grounds. Actually, down the street from me, there's a campground it's called Proud Lake, and there's a lot of camping over there and fishing, and we have a lot of wildlife too. We're starting to get we've actually starting to get some eagles and some of the and by me, have you ever seen what sand cranes look like?
Yes, I have.
They look like pterodactyls.
They are really great. Yeah.
But you know what they do you know that they mate for life?
No, I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
Yes, and they're so cute when they walk. When they walk together, they hold each other's wings.
Oh, that is cute.
They act like an old married couple walking down.
That's cute. Aw.
I know.
Great fishing in Michigan, too.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot of lakes and we have great fishing around in different areas. So it's nice.
What's Michigan's, would you say, is hockey real popular in Michigan? Is there a favorite sport there?
Hockey, baseball, basketball, football. Soccer's growing, too.
Is it?
Yeah, we have, actually, there was talk about building a soccer stadium in Detroit, but that went down. Well, personally, I don't want to I would rather pay I'd rather put out money for low-cost housing for veterans and the underprivileged than I would for a hockey arena.
That's understandable.
Or for a sports arena. I feel that the owners should be putting the money out and paying. We had our previous owner for our basketball team actually built the Palace of Auburn Hills. He believed that the fans should not have to pay for a stadium, so he built it. He made the decision to do that. Well, when he passed away, his wife decided to sell the team, and the guy that bought the team moved the team down to Detroit this past season, and so they share the arena with the Red Wings. But the problem, the Red Wings is our hockey team. But the issue is now have an empty stadium, but the land is valuable, and so I'm sure something will turn of it. But when the Lions moved down to Detroit, it took forever. Actually, just recently, they finally imploded the Silverdome and brought it down, and they're just cleaning it, the area up now. But it took forever. It sat empty for years, and it's sad. And I wish that they would do something with the Palace, and because it was a good venue to go see concerts and other things. So I just don't feel we should be paying for sports arenas. I think that should be on the owners now, because I don't feel that we as taxpayers should be paying for those things. Those owners are like,
right.
How do I explain it? They're
raking in the bucks,
they're billionaires.
For one thing.
They're most of them are millionaires. Okay,
exactly.
The one that owns the Red Wings, the original owner passed away before they moved into, but his family, his kids are set for life, and they own movie theaters. They own movie theaters. They own several theaters in Detroit. And I'm like sitting there going, the least you could do is build your own arena. Take money and build it yourself. Not go to the state of Michigan and ask for tax incentives and money from the taxpayers for your arena. So.
So
I don't want to. I'm trying not to get into the political things, but that's just my opinion. I feel that our money should be going in to help low income families.
I'm going to purposely throw you for 1 minute into the political realm, and I just want your honest thoughts on this only, and that is when it comes to NFL football and them not standing for the...
Well, our football team here was given the option for things, but I'm not going to say I'm against it, and I'm not going to say I'm for it, but I feel that if you are supporting our veterans and you bring the veterans in to honor them, then you should be standing for the flag. And I see that at some of the sporting games where the players are not even coming out and taking the field on the baseline or on the sideline to during the national anthem. And these guys are paid. It's a decision they make, but it's not one that I always stand for the flag, because I know, but yet I don't worship the flag, okay, because I worship God.
Right.
But I feel I'm thankful for what our men and women in the military do for us every day, and the fact that, and for the police officers and the firefighters and the EMS personnel and other law enforcement, because they're fighting to keep us safe. And
yes, they are. And they're not getting much support, it doesn't seem.
No. And I feel that someone who's paid millions of dollars, should show respect. And that's all I have to say.
I think that's a great answer. That's what I just wanted to hear, what your truthful answer was, and I'm glad I'm totally in agreement with you on that too. So, okay, let's hold it up for just a little bit so we can pay those station bills, and we'll get that checkbook out, and then we'll be right back with ya. Hold on, everybody. Can't wait to see you on the other side. This song is for Julie.
Well, it snowed last night in my hometown, and all the schools have been shut down. The snowplows prowl the streets all by themselves. I remember times that happened to me, and how glad I was to be set free. I wish that I could feel that way right now. Maybe it's something in the water. Maybe it's something in the air. Maybe the leaves in the autumn that keep me coming back here. I'm a Michigan girl.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, Think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Michigan girl, raised in the shade of the white pine, walk the trails of the porcupine, proud to call this home mine.
Welcome back. So, Julie, I have a question for you, dear. If someone was coming to Michigan for the first time for a visit, would you make a specific recommendation for them? Would you tell them to hook up with a certain tourist plan, or what would you give someone? I lived there for 3 months, so it wouldn't be me. I was all over Michigan. But for someone that's never been there before, what would you recommend to them?
I would recommend going on to Visit Michigan or the Pure Michigan site and look at some of the places and see what you might like to do depending on what if you like being outdoors. I like going up north because there's a lot of camping and woods and you've got the Great Lakes everywhere. But there every part of Michigan has different things. I mean, Grand Haven's beautiful. If you want to see lighthouses, we've got like the most. And I think if you want to come and see like different areas, I think it's nice to just travel through the state and see what you want to see. I mean, the Capitol is really, they've been renovating the Capitol building for the past several years, and it's really nice. And that they do tours of the Capitol building. And like I said, Detroit has a lot. My cousin does walking tours. Detroit now has a lot of bike paths, so you can do bike riding around it just depends on what you want. I mean, every area is different. I just think you really the Pure Michigan website is really good. Visit Detroit is a good site. Chamber of Commerce in the different cities that you think about going to. It's every area is different. And that's what I like about Michigan is that you could find things in different areas. There's so many different places. We actually have the oldest aquarium, and it's free on Belle Isle. One of the oldest aquariums is on Belle Isle, which is this beautiful island, and they're actually redoing. The DNR took over, the state of Michigan DNR took over the Belle Isle, and they're really doing a lot of work to bring it back up. When the city had it, the city really didn't take good care of it, and they shut down the aquarium. But there's a lot of stuff happening, like I said, throughout the state of Michigan. There's a lot of things to see. Indian Rivers, I was up in Sheboygan, but Indian Rivers isn't far from Sheboygan, and they actually have where you can raft on the Indian River or you can tube on the Indian River, and it's a beautiful time. It's really nice and relaxing, except when the water gets a little rough sometimes. But it's a nice time. It's nice to just see different things. And then Traverse City, I mean, is a beautiful town, and there's a lot to do there. There's a lot of, there's golfing. I think we have one of the toughest golf courses in the nation, and one of the toughest golf courses. And I believe that former presidents have golfed in Traverse City and other areas. But one of the places that was and we also have Sleeping Bear Dunes. So Sleeping Bear Dunes is really beautiful. It's this big sand dunes, and it actually, I believe it's now, I don't know if it's a state park or a national park, but I know that
it might be national, but I'm not sure either. Absolutely, but I'm thinking it's national. It's not. It should be.
But you can hike it. It's beautiful, photographic. You know, it's a nice place to go and
its
take your
legend
family.
Is great. Do you know its legend, Julie?
I do not know the legend.
I read about it, and I don't know if I can remember it well enough to quote it verbatim. But what I do remember was there was this mother bear and these two cubs, and something was happening where they had to swim across the, is it a lake there, or what is it that's there? Something's there. And they had to swim across. Yeah, I think so too. They had to swim across it. And the baby bears, they didn't think they could make it. Mother bear had to get them out there or something was going to happen to them. So she started taking them out, but they got too tired and they couldn't make it. So because of that, the mother bear stayed there forever. And that's where you see the rocks and such that's there. So it's called sleeping bear or sleeping bear.
Yeah, Sleeping Bear Dunes.
Dunes, yeah. I knew I was missing part of it, so I was trying to get it together. But yeah, it has quite a beautiful legend too. It's a native legend, and Michigan.
Yeah, Native American.
It has a lot of Native American legends and such too. I love this state. I think it's just gorgeous. So.
Well, like Picture Rocks is also, I believe, was named by the Native Americans. So.
I wonder what its legends are. I'm going to have to look these up. They always fascinate me.
And then there's the falls up in the UP to Connie Falls or something. I forgot. It starts with a T. And there's a story about them too, and how they were formed. And there's a lot of stories in Michigan that come. Now, like where I live, not far away, there's actually an island. There's a lake that was created during the Ice Age. And there's an island on the lake called Apple Island. And the legend and the story, I think it's been verified. But anyways, long to make it a long story short, Apple Island used to be where Chief Pontiac and the fellow chiefs and elders would go to plan out, and have their meetings. And so Chief Pontiac really was so that island, and so there's a history behind the island. And they did find Native American stuff on the island. There used to be a house on the island, but it caught on fire, and I don't think there were any survivors or something. Supposedly the island has spirits too.
So haunted Michigan, eh?
Yeah, We do have ghost tours, believe it or not. And have you ever been to Irish Hills?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, we have an area called the Irish Hills, and supposedly there's an area where you go through and you see water going uphill instead of downhill, and like the supposedly it's got some magnetic thing. So there's a whole thing about it, but the Irish Hills is supposed, is another area. So, and then we do have Hell, Michigan. So if anyone ever tells you to go to Hell, you can say, "Do you want me to go to Hell, Michigan?"
Yeah, I think I'd rather go there.
And there is an ice cream place there, an ice cream shop there called Scream.
Really? Scream?
S-C-R-E, yes, S-C-R-E-A-M. Scream.
I'd like to know how that Hell, Michigan got its name.
I have no idea, but it's a little nothing town, okay? And it's funny is every year at Halloween they have a run through Hell. But they also have a run in the summertime through Hell.
Oh my! So you can go through Hell in the summer and eat ice cream and scream while you do it.
Right, and they also have. Yeah, the next time I go through Hell, Michigan, I'm going to have to get you something.
Oh, that's sweet.
I did actually. I actually did send a soldier a postcard that says I've been to hell and back.
I love it. I love it. So do they have postcards from there?
Yes, I'll have to get you one.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I love it.
I'll send you one. I'll send you a postcard from Hell, Michigan.
That would be great. That's one place I didn't go when I was there. I never heard of it. I went to a lot of places. I lived in, I didn't live. I stayed for 3 months, and I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I stayed and worked at a temporary job while I was helping a friend through medical school. And the place that I stay at, is it pronounced Livonia? It's not far from Detroit. Lavona.
Livonia, yeah.
Livonia. Yeah, I stayed there for 3 months. So, yeah, I really got around a lot when I was there, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so Hell, Michigan is near Pinckney, or Ann Arbor. It's towards Ann Arbor, but
yeah, okay.
But it's not a big city, okay? It's the.
How many people would you say it has in it?
Not very many. I think there's less than 30.
I can imagine. I mean, not very many people want to say they live in hell,
Well, we also have Climax, Michigan. So you have a choice: Hell, Michigan, or Climax. Which one do you
prefer?
You could say that one is. I hate to say this, but Climax is kind of related to sex, and Hell is related to. But it's fun. It's fun here. It's fun to
I think Michigan is a fun state.
Yeah, it is. We've got boating and fishing and hiking and everything, swimming.
Don't you have a little touch of everything there?
Oh, pretty much skiing. I mean, we don't have the big mountain. We don't have the big mountains like Colorado or something, but we still have skiing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a beautiful state too. Even it's hard to imagine that a state can be as beautiful as Michigan is without seeing it. But I
wish I could have saw the blue ice over up at Mackinac, the bridge. This winter we had blue ice. I wish I could have gone up there, but
Yeah, that would have been
There
real
was
pretty.
there were some pictures I saw on Facebook and things. People, actual photographers that took pictures.
Mackinac Bridge is pretty unique within itself.
Oh yeah, it's I think one of the oldest bridges. It's over 3 miles long or 5 miles, something like that, and then it's yeah. They just recently had it shut down because of the wind and
Oh,
stuff.
I can imagine. It's been windy even here, so in Iowa, so I can imagine.
Yeah.
I know what it can be like. And on Mackinac, boy, you'd be in trouble if it was windy. So it would be a spooky place to be right then, if it's really windy. So
right.
I wouldn't want to take any chances then.
Well, they actually have people that will drive your car over the bridge if you don't like to, but I actually walked the bridge once.
You did?
Labor Day weekend, you can walk the bridge. They have a run and a walk.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
I really like that idea. I didn't know you could do that. But it is. Yep. It's such a fun state to be in. I enjoy the state tremendously. I truly do. Well, was there anything else you wanted to touch on that we haven't touched on with Michigan?
No.
I think we've done pretty good.
Yeah.
We've done pretty good. And we're going to bring Julie back again. She has some other interesting topics she's going to share with us. And I think I'll just wait and talk about it later. Unless you want to say anything about any of it, Julie?
I'm a licensed massage therapist, and there's been research now on pain management and massage, and now they're looking at also massage for PTSD and with veterans.
I think that's great. That's great. Okay, well then we will say good night for now, and Julie, I'll pick up talking to you real soon here. And thanks everyone. We'll talk to you on the upside then. Good night, and thanks again, Julie.
Good night. Good night, Flo.
Thanks. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you, and we look forward to when you return.
I look forward to it too.
All righty. Good night.
Good night.
Julie was a great guest. I really enjoyed Julie. I was trying to come up with the legend of the sleeping bear dune for you, so I couldn't think of it when Julie and I were talking, but it goes long ago along the Wisconsin shoreline. A mother bear and her 2 cubs were driven into Lake Michigan by a raging forest fire. The bears swam for many hours, but eventually the cubs tired and lagged behind. Mother Bear reached the shore and climbed to the top of a high bluff to watch and wait for her cubs. Too tired to continue, the cubs drowned within sight of the shore. The Great Spirit Manitou created 2 islands to mark the spot where the cubs disappeared, and then created a solitary dune to represent the faithful Mother Bear. And now you know the legend of the sleeping bear's dune, and it is gorgeous. It's a national lake shore. It's absolutely gorgeous. Another place I really liked when I was there was Whitefish Bay, I think they call it. It's up where I can't think now. Edmund Fitzgerald, where that song came from. Whitefish Point. It's pretty unique because it's an old lighthouse. It's like it was first lit in 1849. So it shares honors with the lighthouse at Copper Harbor for being the first lights on Lake Superior. And they state that it stands guard over the entrance to Whitefish Bay. Sometimes the only shelter to be found for a ship trying to escape the fury of the lake, and is the oldest active light on Lake Superior. Whitefish Point is known as the graveyard of ships, as more vessels have been lost here than in any other part of the lake. Hundreds of vessels, including the famed Edmund Fitzgerald, lie on the bottom of the bay and the approaches. The lighthouse marks the end of an 80-mile stretch of shoreline known as Lake Superior Shipwreck Coast. This light has shined into the big lake unfailingly for almost 150 years, except for the night when the Edmund Fitzgerald went down. Raging northwest winds, as the song goes, building up over 160 miles of open water, create waves of unbelievable proportions. These violent storms and wild winds erupt with a suddenness that often catches the sailors unprepared. The mountainous waves strike harder and more often than any ocean wave. The waves come roaring in from 2 to 3 different directions, ricocheting off the shores and returning with even more intensity. These monstrous storms of hurricane force and duration strike with all the ferocity and brutality of any ocean storm. This information, by the way, is coming off the site exploringthenorth.com/whitefish/whitefish.html. And there is quite a story involved with the whitefish point, so if you have time, it would be a good place for you to explore further. And they also have a Paradise, Michigan, I'm just seeing now. It's about an hour's drive north of the Mackinac Bridge and a little over an hour drive west of the Sulaks. That makes me think of when I first went to Michigan. I went in via the Canadian side and was on a ferry and got off the ferry and had just gotten on the Sulaks, and this friend that was driving with me couldn't believe it. I mean, it was just shocking because there was a huge eagle. Julie mentioned eagles, and I had an eagle land right on my side, and it eyeballed me. I was afraid we were going to hit it. It was gorgeous. But that's the closest I've ever eyeballed an eagle before. So this Paradise, it says, is a small town with a history of shipping, logging, fishing, blueberry, and cranberry harvesting. The Great Fire of 1922 destroyed the natural growth of the land and prepared it for one of Michigan's most productive blueberry regions. And that sounds good, too. I love their cherries there. They are wonderful. If you go to Michigan, you won't regret it. There's so much to see there and do. I mean, just a great state to visit. I really enjoyed it. It was a great state to visit. There's so many good states in our country. I'd be hard-pressed when people ask me what my favorite state is, since I've been in all 50. I never know what to say because there's so many good things about all of our states. It's just really hard to pick. Oh, and I was looking up this Hell, Michigan, too. That was kind of interesting as well. Can you believe there's a Hell, Michigan? I thought that was really kind of interesting indeed. Now, you wonder how a place gets to be named Hell. Well, there are 2 theories, they say, for the origin of Hell's name. And I've looked this up a couple places, so I guess it must be true. The first is that a pair of German travelers stepped out of a stagecoach one sunny afternoon in the 1830s, and one said to the other, "So schön hell," translated as "so beautifully bright." Their comments were overheard by some locals, and the name stuck. Soon after Michigan gained statehood, George Reeves was asked what he thought the town he helped settle should be called, and he replied, "I don't care, you can name it Hell for all I care." The name became official on October 13, 1841, and it's been Hell ever since. The second theory is tied to the hell-like conditions encountered by early explorers, including mosquitoes, thick forest cover, and extensive wetlands. It has frequently been noted on lists of unusual place names. And there are some fun things to do in Hell. Looks like there's some other places in our United States that have a Hell. There's 2 places anyway, a Hell for certain, Kentucky, and a Hell, California. That's all that I see. There's also a Hell, Norway, a Hell, Grand Cayman, and I guess that's it. But I think Michigan is unique in that you can go to Hell or Paradise there, and you can do it one right after the other, your choice. You don't have to go to heaven or hell in any particular order. You can just make up your mind and go when you want to. And I think there's some fun things to do in Hell, too, like that Scream's ice cream, for example. Well, I think it's time for us to take a little break here and to bring on the checkbook paying time. We'll meet you on the other side then. Alrighty, let's roll.
They closed the bridge last week 'cause the wind was high where the water's deep. Cars backed up for miles on both sides. I remember when we rode Big Mac, afraid we'd fall between the cracks. I can't wait to take that northern ride again. Maybe it's something in the water. Maybe it's something in the air.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Maybe it's something in the water. Maybe it's something in the air. Maybe the leaves in the autumn that keep me coming back here. I'm a Michigan girl.
I saw something today in a paper that made me sad. I noticed that there is a cross that has been standing since World War I, and it has been standing there in recognition of certain people, I think about 40, that died in one of the conflicts. My own father was a World War I veteran. He was 61 years young when I was born. And I was very blessed to have him as a dad. I learned a lot of my patriotism from my father, sitting on his knee and learning from him. I will say about my dad that he was one of the most patriotic men that I think I could ever have known. And this patriotism did not come easy for him. He was drafted into World War I at a time in life where you didn't go into war without knowing that there could be very dire consequences. For my dad, it was really hard because he had to decide whether to follow his childhood religion, which would have essentially made him into a conscientious objector, or whether he should actually serve his country. Dad chose to serve his country, and that has made all the difference for me. When I saw that they plan on tearing this cross down, because it is in the form of a cross, it just almost broke my heart. I can't imagine what this world is coming to now. And then I listened to a clip from President Trump, and it reminded me that in World War I, some horrible things happened, and they have happened again here in our time frame. I wonder sometimes if we've really made many advancements at all. Let me get that clip.
During the horror of the First World War, more than 1 million people were killed or injured from chemical warfare In the aftermath of that horror, civilized nations came together to ban chemical weapons. 2 weeks ago, following Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad's barbaric use of chemical weapons against his own people, the United States, France, and the United Kingdom joined together to strike at the heart of the Syrian chemical weapons program. These actions were designed to establish a strong deterrent against the use of these heinous weapons.
You know that war, the World War I, it was supposed to be, as I was reminded many times, the war that would end all wars. But sadly, it wasn't. How many wars have we had since then? World War I, World War II, and on the list goes. And yet, we are looking at a feasible war again. We just can pray that war does not come to us. But as Trump has said many times, we will stand tall, we will be brave. I don't know that it was in those words that he said it specifically, but it was the meaning behind it that I interpreted. And I just pray that we can avoid war, but by all means, we cannot allow these types of weapons to be used in our world anymore. I know my father paid a price, as did many men, and they deserve to have that horrible memory of what those weapons were like to be put at rest where they will never again be used. Russia warned us of serious consequences if we struck Syria. But folks, I don't see that we had a choice. Otherwise, this could be going into World War III anyway, with using those types of weapons. It's like turning your back on another World War II in essence. I sure don't want to see World War III start. I remember what Einstein said when he said that he didn't know what weapons people would be using with World War III, but he did know what weapons they would be using at the next war, and that would be sticks and stones. I really don't want to go to that mentality if we don't have to. I hope people can learn to get along. Sure doesn't seem possible, though. I guess. Then we have North Korea. Oh, yes, North Korea, the quack quack and what does President Trump call him, the little jet man or something or another like that? At any rate, the little quack quack. Well, he sure is quackers, but he sure seems like he's not going to give up his weapons. He doesn't seem to have any ideology towards that means, from what I'm hearing. He has finally broken his silence. I have heard that and studied that, and what he plans to bring to the table during his summits with the South Korean and U.S. presidents sure doesn't seem to have anything to do with tossing out his nuclear arsenal. Instead, he seems to be maneuvering toward his own big get, the chance to sit down with President Trump on what he sees as essentially equal basis as the head of a nuclear-armed nation. The end of North Korea's nuclear program isn't looking any closer than it was before, folks. Ending weeks of ominous silence, Kim laid out the new strategy at a meeting Friday of his ruling party Central Committee that suspends underground nuclear tests and test launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles. He said the country's nuclear test site at Pyongyang, already believed to be essentially inoperable, that one will be closed and dismantled. North Korea for decades has been pushing a concept of denuclearization that bears no resistance to the American definition, vowing to keep pursuing nuclear development unless Washington offers ironclad guarantees of its security. and removes its nearly 30,000 troops from the Korean peninsula. Well, Kim does seem to be more flexible than he has been regarding the troops, but still, I just don't see President Trump going for anything less than a complete denuclearization. But President Trump has changed his mind on many things. It wouldn't be easy to be president in this country and not ever change your mind, I would not think. There's so many different viewpoints and so many ways of looking at things. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I do know that for a fact. We can be sure, though, that Kim's tone has changed. It really has. Remember last year, the only messages coming out of him were threats. Threats of merciless retaliation and warnings of the gathering dark clouds of nuclear war. Well, now he's claiming he can be bigger-hearted because a fresh climate of peace is being created on the Korean peninsula. So maybe that's making a difference for him, according to the North state-run media, which reported the announcement on Saturday, that is. There's also a lot of room for positive results to come from Kim's summits with South Korean President Moon Jae-in set for next Friday and Trump expected in late May or early June. The North and South may agree to allow more reunions for families that were divided by the 1950 and 53 Korean War, which would be great. Those families need to be together. And Kim is reportedly open to releasing 3 Americans now in North Korean custody. Now, we don't need to tell you what happened to our young man that came home and what shape he was in. That was just horrendous. My heart goes out to that family. Experts point out that this is still Kim's opening gambit. It's possible he may be willing to offer more concessions once the real talking begins, but then again, maybe not. And what will President Trump say about that then? Time will tell. Take a listen to this clip from Sanders. She seems to know what's going on, hopefully.
On North Korea, is the president willing to accept anything short of complete denuclearization before lifting any sanctions?
Certainly the goal is denuclearization of the peninsula, and we're going to continue the maximum pressure campaign that has been ongoing to North Korea until we see concrete actions taken towards complete and total denuclearization.
Well, does that mean no sanctions lifted until that's achieved, or are you willing to go incrementally?
Certainly no sanctions lifted until we see concrete actions taken by North Korea to denuclearize.
Little Rocket Man does seem to have changed his tune some, so we will see what happens, but I'm sure not looking for complete denuclearization by him. I think it's more apt to say that he is thinking of himself as a now nuclearized nation, and he thinks he's come by it in a very hard way. In fact, he has. For someone who starves his own people, he may not use weapons on them, but he certainly starves them, and to death. Not to mention that if you watch the wrong TV show, the show that's not approved by the government, that is to say, then you could be killed. Yeah, that's kind of government. Well, we will see what he does. Time will tell. Seems if you believe certain people and their tweets, we're being attacked by all kinds of people that we don't even know about, though. Did you read Hillary Clinton's tweet the other day? Let me see if I can find that one for you. That really says a mouthful. Gee, if I believed everything like that, I'd probably be shaking in my cowboy boots. This is what she had to say in her tweet. I say this as a former Secretary of State and as an American. The Russians are still coming. Our intelligence professionals are imploring Trump to act. Will he continue to ignore and surrender or protect our country? Like she did so much to protect our country. That one just makes me sick. Let's remember Benghazi. Let's remember Barack Obama tearing our military down and reducing them every chance he could. Our present POTUS has committed like $7 billion, I'm understanding, to rebuild our armed forces so that he can protect our country. And it's the very country that Barack Obama made more vulnerable by the way that he governed. Or if he did govern, it was more of a laugh. They were wanting to turn this into a world government. I don't know if he thought he was going to be God or what, but they sure were hell-bent on making America another third world country. And if Hillary had seceded, it would have happened. Soros never did like the United States of America. He sure didn't want to give them a chance. He wanted Hillary in there, but this time, no matter what, it wasn't meant to be. God, I think, heard the prayers of his people and answered and gave us our POTUS, and we were able to miss a huge bullet that we would have definitely been hit by had she been put in. And now you have my opinion on that one. Our POTUS may be in for some very difficult times in relation to the judge that will be overseeing the court case regarding Michael Cohen and against President Donald Trump. Well, here are 5 facts about that particular judge. Maybe you've heard of Judge Wood, so I don't need to say anything else. But she's probably the one judge that Trump should be the most worried about from all observations that you can read any place. She was President Bill Clinton's pick for Attorney General in 1993 to start with. 2 years before her affair with Richardson, President Bill Clinton nominated Wood to become the first female Attorney General. In fact, she was handpicked by Hillary, who had been asked to submit a list of possible nominees for her husband's consideration. She did withdraw from the nomination after the White House learned about her brief time as a Playboy bunny, as well as that she employed an illegal alien as a nanny. Further, Wood actually helped the nanny to illegally remain in the country by paying her taxes for her. She did train as a Playboy bunny, and indeed she did. She was the daughter of a U.S. Army career officer and speechwriter. She spent much of her childhood and young adulthood in Europe. While studying at the London School of Economics in the 1960s, she trained for a few days at a Playboy casino, but quit because she thought the gig was silly. Nevertheless, the job would haunt her in her later career and played a role in costing her the position of Attorney General. 3, she had an extramarital affair that earned her the nickname the Love Judge. She might be a judge, but her personal past indicates that her moral scruples are lacking. In 1955, at the age of 51, she began an affair with married multimillionaire Wall Street financier Frank Richardson. The affair was uncovered by Richardson's wife when she found passionate passages written about Wood in Richardson's diary. The tryst earned Wood the nickname the Love Judge during Richardson's divorce trial. Wood married Richardson in 1999. And did you know this one? This is a biggie, I think. She officiated at George Soros's wedding. Wood officiated the 2013 wedding, of George Soros. At the time, Soros was 83. Do you remember how old his bride was? She was half his age, well, almost half his age, at 42. Numerous prominent liberals, libtards, attended the wedding, including, do you know this one? House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, and then California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom. In lieu of wedding gifts, the couple asked that donations be made to several organizations, including Planned Parenthood and Global Witness, an environmental activist group. And she doesn't believe in an attorney-client privilege. During Cohen's hearing on Monday would force Cohen to expose the identity of a previously unnamed client. The client turned out to be none other than Fox News host Sean Hannity, who maintains that he only asked Cohen for legal advice as a friend and never retained or paid her for any legal services. Well, later it seemed more came out about that, but it still wasn't all that severe. I'm very happy, though, however, to note that Fox is finally standing up for their personnel. Some don't think O'Reilly got the treatment he deserved from Fox. Be that as it may. It's good to see Fox standing up for their personnel who are presently being accused by liberals. The Russia push against Trump didn't work. Getting Hannity and Ingraham removed from Fox didn't work. The riots seem to finally be quieting some, since the liberals' temper tantrums didn't work. You'd think after a while the libs would get tired like any 2-year-old snotty-nosed brat and take some naps. Isn't it about time for them to take some naps? Anyway, here's the scoop with Hannity and Ingraham. Hannity, and this was written on April 17th, so it is a few days old. Fox News has finally issued a statement on the alleged business relationship host Sean Hannity had with attorney Michael Cohen, who just so happens to be President Trump's personal lawyer and fixer. Yesterday we learned that Michael Cohen considered Hannity a client after a judge forced Trump's attorney to reveal his list of clients. Yeah, we know who that judge was now, don't we? This initially sparked a great deal of speculation. Many thought Hannity employed Cohen to shut someone up, as Cohen is well known for making hush money payments. It turns out that was all wrong. At any rate, Fox News finally weighed in on the affair and released the following statement. Some thought the exposed relationship would lead to Fox firing Hannity for not disclosing his initial dealings with Cohen, but this is a relief for Hannity to be sure. This whole thing shouldn't have led to so much grief. Perhaps Hannity should have been more upfront about his relationship with Cohen, but the matter appears to be highly informal. Hannity asked for casual legal advice. He didn't pay Cohen. He didn't have him on retainer. That statement pretty much settles the matter. Fox won't be firing Hannity over this, much to the dismay of liberals who want to see the popular host ingloriously dismissed. Too bad, so sad. The libtards lose again. But please don't think they'll give up after this. They'll just keep searching for excuses to destroy Hannity and any other cable TV host who supports President Trump. Now, on Laura Ingraham, she celebrated skyrocketing ratings in the wake of liberal boycotts. Not only did Fox News host Laura Ingraham escape relatively unscathed during the intense heat of a leftist boycott, she came out the other side smelling like a rose, you might say. As the Political Insider previously reported, Ingraham is maintaining the top spot in her designated time slot despite her advertisers turning tail and running in the wake of a David Hogg-inspired hissy fit. It gets better. Viewership is on the rise since the left tried to get her taken off the air. In fact, it's up quite a bit. Her ratings are up a lot, reports Rich Noyce of the media watchdog Newsbusters, by more than 20% compared to her last week on the air before the current controversy began. As such, Ingraham set out a celebrity tweet to her fans on social media and gave them a hearty thank you. As of last week, no less than 27 cowardly companies pulled their advertising dollars from Ingraham's show. To their credit, Fox News issued a statement of support for their hostess in the face of serious financial peril. We cannot and will not allow voices to be censored by agenda-driven intimidation efforts, Fox wrote in a statement. Now we know standing up for what is right and just can actually work. According to Knowles, Ingraham's ratings went from 2.23 million the week prior to the boycott to a significant 2.7 million following her vacation amidst the controversy. That's an increase of roughly 21%. Even The Hill posted an op-ed column warning companies who engage in boycotts against free speech. Well, go Fox. That is great. I think for that one, we could probably even manage to give you a round of applause. You deserve it. Way to go. We are proud of you, Fox. Yes. Wow, this time it snuck right up on us. It is time to pay those bills. So without further ado, we will pay those bills. Let's get that checkbook out. And I will meet you on the other side. Alrighty then. Remember, you can find me at KLRNRadio.com, Flo at KLRNRadio.com. You can also find me on Twitter under Flobo, and you can find me on all kinds of podcast sites, such as, yes, alrighty, iHeart. So check it out. Find me, please.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, But even then, he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
And that, my dear friends, is just how happy you make me. I purr and purr like a little kitty because I love you so much. Thank you for being my listener. Without you, there'd be no reason to have a show. We love you at KLRN Radio. There's been a lot of negatives happening lately, especially to Christians, it seems. There's been a lot of pick at Christians, and I think part of the problem lies in who we have as Commissioner of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So we need to tell President Trump to withdraw the liberal EEOC nomination. This is the scoop. In December of 2017, President Trump renominated this Chai Feldbaum to serve as commissioner of the EEOC. Now, who she is the same anti-religious liberty and pro-LGBT zealot whom President Barack Obama, the person, okay, the guy, if you want to call him that, or as my little cousin, who was only 3, said, Obama, okay, Obama, nominated her in 2010. Her term ends July 1st, 2018. I absolutely say let her term expire and replace her with a constitutional conservative who will protect the First Amendment. Her influence at the EEOC has been horrendous already, to say the least. I would. She places a so-called right to sexual deviancy over and above religious liberty. Her mixed-up views force Christians to abandon their deeply held religious beliefs on marriage and sexuality. For example, when there is a legal conflict between religious liberty and sexual deviancy, Feldblum has said, I'm having a hard time coming up with any case in which religious liberty should win. Sexual liberty should win in most cases. There can be a conflict between religious liberty and sexual liberty, but in almost all cases, the sexual liberty should win, because that's the only way that the dignity of gay people can be affirmed in any realistic manner. The adverse effects of Chai Feldblum's warped worldview have infected the EEOC, resulting in numerous rogue actions by the U.S. Executive Board. Recently, Feldblum's EEOC, with assistance from the ACLU, argued for a transgender employee's rights before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit. In this case, a Christian business owner of a funeral home had fired employee Anthony Stevens, who was undergoing gender transitioning and wearing women's clothes to work. The business owner said this violated his Christian beliefs, but the EEOC argued that a Christian business owner could not fire a transgender employee for religious reasons. The court agreed. What happened to the right to practice your religion? Jeez, tell me these people aren't enforcing their way on us. President Trump, who campaigned on and issued an executive order protecting religious liberty, said, "Faith is deeply embedded into the history of our country, the spirit of our founding, and the soul of our nation. This administration will not allow people of faith to be targeted, bullied, or silenced anymore." The renomination of Chai Feldblum, one of President Obama's most ardent opponents of religious liberty, grossly undermines President Trump's promises, as well as his instructions to Attorney General Jeff Sessions to protect religious liberty. There is a petition out there that you can sign regarding that as well. You don't have to be a Trump nominee to face the Christian Inquisition. Just ask Iowa conservatives. The bad blood that's turned the hearings of Mike Pompeo, Russell Vogt, and Amy Barrett into anti-faith slugfest seems to be spilling over into state politics too. At least one military wife is out of a job because of it. By every other measure, Catherine Astus was more than qualified to join the Iowa Board of Medicine. With a strong background in hospital PR and the support of Republican Governor Kim Reynolds, most people thought she was a shoo-in. So when her nomination failed to get the 33 votes she needed for confirmation, the one question most people had was, why? According to the liberals who opposed her, it was simple. She was too religious for the job. Critics, including ringleader State Senator Tony Bisagino, Democrat, urged his party to reject her because of a single comment she made on a Catholic World Report post. The article, Rebuilding a Bridge, the connection between contraception and the LGBT community, raised red flags, Democrats said. Although Catherine didn't write the column, she did tell the author that she agreed with it, and that single act, this Democrat insisted, disqualified her from the state's Board of Medicine. The governor's office was stunned. Senate Democrats voted down a well-qualified nominee who wanted to give her time and talents to the state of Iowa, a Reynolds spokesperson said. Senator Brad Zahn, Republican, who'd been one of her most outspoken defenders, was outraged by the other side's bias. "I am disgusted by what has been done," he fumed on the floor of the Senate. She made a comment on a blog. One comment, so we bring her down, her whole family down. Apparently, he fired back. Freedom of speech only works on this side of the aisle. For Astus, whose husband is a NATO flight officer, the decision stung. She's never shied away from her conservative roots, explaining that her beliefs on marriage are in line with traditional mainstream views and Catholic teaching. None of that, the Constitution would argue, should disqualify someone for public service. "I think that this speaks to a lack of open-mindedness and the intolerance of Democrats," she said after the vote. "For hundreds of years, we've been a country that's not only been proud of differences, but thrived off them. Now, as far as these liberals are concerned, believing as almost half of Americans do can cost you a seat at the government table. It's time for the left to stop penalizing people of faith. No one should be required to choose between their career and their convictions." And that was written by Tony Perkins, Washington Update, with the aid of FRC senior writers. And I fully agree with him on that as well, by the way. I just think it's ridiculous what the left is trying to pull off these days. It makes no sense whatsoever. I came across an interesting article, and its title is State Department Has a Captive Audience in Jail Pastor. It's from Tony Perkins' Washington Update and dated April 16, 2018. For 50-year-old pastor Andrew Brunson, the last year and a half have been like a bad dream. The North Carolina missionary and his family had built a life in Turkey, only to watch government officials tear it all apart. After 23 years of serving the Mediterranean people, he's been thrown behind bars, left to wonder if he'll ever see America or his family again. For Brunson, who devoted two decades to pastoring a church in Izmir, the charges were almost unbelievable. Accused of spying, conspiracy, and terrorism, the Black Mountain native was taken to prison, where he spiraled into depression. The start was very, very difficult, his daughter tells reporters. Losing hope and more than 50 pounds, Brunson had no choice but to wait for American officials to intervene. Days ticked by, then months. Andrew missed his daughter's wedding and another's graduation. Back on American soil, Noreen desperately worked for her husband's freedom, a goal that seems much more realistic under this White House. Last year, the Brunsons had a major breakthrough in their case when then Secretary of State Rex Tillerson agreed to meet with Noreen, and then later when U.S. officials, including 78 members of Congress, personally called for Andrew's release. Although local authorities haven't been able to produce a scrap of evidence tying the Brunsons to a terrorist organization, he still faces up to 35 years in a Turkish jail. The concern, insiders say, is that authorities will try to keep Brunson in the country to use as a bargaining chip with the president. In the trial that started today, Brunson told the court, "I don't accept any of the allegations or accusations. I did not engage in any illegal activity. I had no relations with anyone engaged in such activity. I am a Christian pastor. I did not join an Islamic movement. Their aims and mine are different." When Andrew did take the stand, he was almost certainly comforted by the presence of two key U.S. leaders, Ambassador at Large for Religious Freedom Sam Brownback and Home State Senator Tom Tillis, Republican, North Carolina. Both men flew to Turkey to attend the trial and add to the growing international pressure for Brunson's release. Days earlier, a man who could be the most instrumental player in Andrew's release was sitting in a hearing of his own. Unfortunately for Mike Pompeo, Trump's pick for Secretary of State, he was being interrogated not on his ideas for helping prisoners like this pastor, but about his views on sexuality. On the eve of America's targeted missile strike on Syria, Senator Cory Booker's Democrat New Jersey biggest concern wasn't the threats our nation is facing, but whether Pompeo shared his radical LGBT agenda. To his credit, Mike stood his ground, refusing to let the Democrats' new litmus test for public service rattle him. Of course, conservatives have watched this new McCarthyism evolve in confirmation hearings from Russell Vogt to Amy Barrett. We've seen our own prophecies about the fallout over same-sex marriage come true in every public servant who's marginalized from mainstream views. The only difference in the left's hostility is that now Democrats are done hiding it. As Daniel Davis points out in the Daily Signal, in the world of Cory Booker, there is no place for Mike Pompeo except perhaps in re-education class, certainly not in the cabinet. This sort of social ostracization and occupational discrimination was coming, but liberals long denied it. They assured us that same-sex marriage would make the world more tolerant, that conservative holdouts would have nothing to fear, and that the progressive future would have a place for everyone. These liberals either failed to see just how coercive their movement would become, or they knew better and were just placating America while cultural changes gained steam, and then jumped on board the train. Even more amazingly, Pompeo's views are completely mainstream. In fact, he was such a consensus choice for CIA director last year that more than a dozen Democrats voted for him. Now those same people, like Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat Virginia, are using their animus as an excuse to pull the rug out from an excellent candidate that even the Washington Post urges the Senate to confirm. "I did vote him for CIA director," Kaine said over the weekend. "He has an intel background that I thought suited him for the position. But look, he went on, we have a president that is anti-diplomacy, and I worry that Mike Pompeo has shown the same tendency to oppose diplomacy. He was not just against the Iran deal when he was a House member, but he spoke about the relative ease of wiping out Iran's nuclear capacity with a bombing run. Obviously, Democrats won't be satisfied until the president's nominees either recant their faith or insist on having none at all. It's time for the left to end its campaign of intolerance. If you haven't already, join the 25,000 Americans who signed our petition to the U.S. Senate protesting the treatment of Christians like Mike Pompeo. As FRC's Travis Weber argues in his new op-ed for The Hill, in his long history of public service, Mike Pompeo has been scrupulous to treat every human being with dignity and respect. His critics should seek to understand this instead of resorting to personal attacks. They would find that he is a competent and principled person who is well qualified to fill the role of our chief diplomat and will seek to unite and serve all of us in representing our common interest on the world stage. Well, I guess we will find out what happens, won't we? It's looking favorable for Pompeo, though. In fact, this Monday, while I was traveling, Mike Pompeo barely was accepted as Secretary of State. Hooray. Let's hope this minister to Turkey has such good results also. By the way, did you hear about the New York-based group that were planning to send members to Syria? They were roommates who lived seemingly ordinary lives. One chopped vegetables at a Brooklyn gyro shop. I never say that word right. Another worked at a shopping mall. Like many young people, they spent considerable time online. But Abdurasul Jorabov and Akhor Sadamitov came to the attention of the FBI when Jorabov posted an ominous message on a terrorist-affiliated website. He was willing to engage in an act of martyrdom on U.S. soil by killing then-President Barack Obama to strike fear in the hearts of infidels. This investigation subsequently revealed that the two of them planned to travel to Turkey and then Syria to wage violent jihad on behalf of ISIS. They later communicated online with an Iraq-based ISIS website administrator who encouraged them to travel to ISIS-controlled territories to fight with the terrorist group. One of them indicated his willingness to support the activities of ISIS and said he wanted to leave the United States undetected to go to the Middle East. It was a very serious plot, said Special Agent Andrew Packman, who supervised the case as part of the FBI's New York Joint Terrorism Task Force. Over several months, we collected very strong evidence of what they were planning to do. They were working to get weapons and funding for the trip. FBI and U.S. Secret Service interviews with the men, as well as further investigation, showed they were serious about traveling to Syria, or if they weren't able to travel abroad, conducting attacks against the president or against law enforcement officers in the United States. They also had help from associates in raising money and arranging travel. Over several months, the two of them planned their travel, with one slated to make the first trip. They gathered funds, bought tickets, and worked with their ISIS facilitator to figure out how to get into Syria. One of their trip was temporarily thwarted when his mother confiscated his passport, though he was able to obtain other travel documents under the guise that he was visiting his family in Uzbekistan. Their intent was to go to Syria and fight, but they indicated they were fully committed to conducting an attack in the U.S. if they could not get there, Andrew Packman, Special Agent, FBI New York, said. After months of planning, on February 24, 2015, an associate drove Seda Mitov to New York's John F. Kennedy for his flight to Turkey. That associate also gave him $1,700 in cash for travel and to purchase weapons when he got to Syria, but he never got on the plane. He had been under surveillance for months and was arrested by the FBI before he could board. Simultaneously, agents in Brooklyn arrested Jorabov, who had already purchased his own plane ticket and was planning to go to Syria via Turkey the following month at his Brooklyn apartment. Their ISIS facilitator was arrested in Jacksonville, Florida, along with an additional co-conspirator in Norfolk, Virginia. Other co-conspirators were later arrested in New Haven and Chicago. Later in 2015, Jerebov pleaded guilty to conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization and was sentenced in October of 2017 to 15 years in prison. Last year, Seyhadamotov pleaded guilty to conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization and in December was also sentenced to 15 years. Others have pleaded guilty to helping the two men. Their intent was to go to Syria and fight, but they indicated that they were fully committed to conducting an attack in the U.S. if they could not get there, Pacman said. Stopping the would-be terrorists was a team effort involving FBI field offices across the country, as well as the New York City Police Department and the Secret Service. Considering the huge scope of this investigation and the threat they posed, it was one of the most meaningful cases of my career to be a part of the team that investigated this serious threat, Pacman said. This was a true task force investigation, and we were on the front lines of identifying and stopping aspiring ISIS fighters. Now, I personally think that when we know someone is an ISIS fighter, we should put them in prison for life or send them to Syria and keep them there, never letting them have entrance to the United States again. I just can't believe that we only give them 10 to 15 years so then they can get out and cause more havoc. Of course, liberals love to claim that it's a myth that armed citizens ever stop mass public shootings, and they're technically right. How can that be, you asked? Well, if an armed citizen stops a shooter right as he begins opening fire and before anyone dies, there technically wasn't a mass shooting that was stopped because the armed citizen prevented it from occurring in the first place. Well, such was the case in Maryland not very long ago, when a Great Mills High School student opened fire, injuring 2 students, before being the only fatality when an armed school resource officer shot the student. As reported by the Daily Caller, according to St. Mary's County Sheriff Tim Cameron, the school resource officer fired a round at the shooter, who fired a round in return. The shooter is now dead, Cameron confirmed Tuesday morning, and an investigation will determine whether the SRO's bullet struck the shooter. The incident is now over, though the shooter managed to injure 2 students. One of them was in critical condition in the hospital, Cameron said. The SRO was not injured during the incident. The contrast in how this shooting was handled and the recent Valentine's Day shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School couldn't be any starker. Multiple armed officers waited by idly while the massacre at Stoneman Douglas unfolded. There were 17 deaths and 14 injuries at Stoneman Douglas, but only 2 injuries when the SROs did their job when they had guns and could do their jobs. The shooter, who has still not been identified, well, I think he has been now, but at the time that I read this, he had not been when I put my information together. He had been pronounced dead, according to Sheriff Timothy K. Cameron. The sheriff also said there was no question the situation would have been worse if the school resource officer had not engaged the shooter. No kidding. Don't expect to hear that narrative in the mainstream media, though. I know it never came on my news. How about yours? The shooter came packing a handgun instead of an AR-15 and was stopped by an armed guard. So there's nothing for the left to talk about here. So, of course, you won't see it on mainline media. Well, I guess that pretty much stands to reason, doesn't it? The way that that's going these days. It's time to go pay those bills. So let's get that checkbook out and get to it so we can get right back here. I'll see you on the upside. Alrighty then. Sometimes I just really need to hear this song.
Country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
I would indeed be remiss if I did not mention Barbara Bush and the fact that she has gone to her heavenly home, as she would call it. Former First Lady Barbara Pierce Bush died on April 17, 2018 at her home in Houston after an extended illness. She was 92. Barbara was wife of the 41st President of the United States and mother of the 43rd. Born on June 8, 1925 in New York City, Barbara Pierce was the third of 4 children of Marvin Pierce, president of the magazine publishing company McCall, and Pauline Robinson Pierce, whose father was an Ohio Supreme Court Associate Justice. In 1943, she graduated from Ashley Hall boarding school in Charleston, South Carolina, and entered Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts. She was 15 years old when she met her future husband at a party in Connecticut while she was on Christmas break. They were engaged about a year and a half later and married in Barbara's following her freshman year. She left college following her freshman year and married George Bush, who was then a Navy torpedo bomber pilot while he was home on leave. They were married in Rye, New York, January 6, 1945. The former First Lady and former President George H.W. Bush had the longest-lasting marriage in presidential history of 73 years. Barbara has said George H.W. was the first man she'd ever kissed. They would have 6 children, George W., Pauline, who was called Robin, John, nicknamed Jeb, Nell, Marvin, and Dorothy, whom they called Doro. Robin died of leukemia at age 3. Barbara Bush wrote a book called Millie's Book that gives an account of the White House through her really cute and smart dog's way of thinking. She elevated literacy while her husband was in office. Her husband, George H.W. Bush, was at Barbara's side when she passed. George H.W. Bush's chief of staff, Gene Becker, said in a statement, he held her hand all day and today was at her side when she died. She had 5 living children and 14 grandchildren. And then George H.W. Bush was in the hospital recently. He's out now, and as I understand it, he's on his way soon to his vacation home, which he seems to be very much looking forward to. This particular incident, I don't think there was much observation from the rest of the world. Definitely there was not eyes on as with Barbara Bush's death. This is a case in South Carolina, where 7 inmates were killed and 17 others injured in a South Carolina prison brawl. Deadly violence erupted at Lee Correctional Institute in Bishopville, South Carolina, leaving 7 inmates dead and 17 others injured in one of the deadliest prison incidents in years, AOL reported. The prison is a maximum security facility that houses nearly 1,600 inmates. The first incident was reported about 7:15 p.m. on Sunday, according to the South Carolina State Department of Corrections. By 3 a.m. Monday, the prison was under lockdown and order was restored, according to a Facebook post by the department. The violence spread to 3 adjacent housing units, lasting several hours. No correction officers were wounded in the incident, authorities reported. The Facebook post said, all SCDC staff and responding law enforcement officers are safe and accounted for. The incident is under investigation by the department's police service unit and the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. Autopsies will be conducted on the 7 inmates, but the coroner's initial investigation suggested that most of the deaths were caused by beatings or stabbings, the 4th deadly incident at the facility in the past year. Well, it seems that they are fighting over real money and real territory while they're incarcerated. Evidently, the first battle started about 7:15 p.m. Sunday in a housing of about 250 inmates. And as mentioned, 7 inmates were killed in the prison fights. Around 8:30 p.m., there was more fracas, and by 11:30 p.m., they began taking that dorm back. They had enough people there to enter safely, and they began taking the dorm back. By 2 a.m. Monday, all dorms had been secured. It took a little while, but as usual, order is restored, at least in a prison setting. There is a questionnaire that Arlington National Cemetery would like you to please fill out. I will let the superintendent soundbite fill you in on that, if you don't mind.
My name is Catherine Kelly, and I'm the superintendent at Arlington National Cemetery. I'd like to talk to you today about our greatest challenge. The capacity of the cemetery is the biggest issue we face today. If nothing changes, we will not be able to bury veterans after about the early 2040s, because it's simply a problem of available space and the amazing amount of those veterans who are interested in coming to Arlington today. The issue is really about the extraordinary demand for people who want to be buried at Arlington, balanced against a very small amount of acres that we have left. Today, we're asking for your feedback. We have a public survey on our website at arlingtoncemetery.mil. We want people to be part of a dialogue to inform us as to what we should do about this very important problem. We want people to tell us what they think the cemetery means to them, and what do people think the cemetery should be in the future. We feel very strongly that the cemetery is a symbol of our nation and a national shrine, and we want to continue to be available for veterans well into the future. The survey will help us get feedback from all those who care about that very important question, and we invite everybody to take it.
We have kind of an interesting report coming in, it looks like, from informing us that Fort Drum will be among the first to train with autonomous robotic support vehicle. It's written by Gordon Block, published Monday, April 16th at 12:30 a.m., U.S. Army. An Army graphic shows the picture, so if you can go online, check it out on U.S. Army. Soldiers with the 10th Mountain Division will be among the first to train with the new autonomous robotic support vehicle. The squad multi-purpose equipment transport is able to carry up to 1,000 pounds of gear over 60 miles in 72 hours, potentially reducing the load for soldiers carrying food, water, and other key supplies. The division's 1st Brigade Combat Team will test the vehicle along with soldiers from the 1st Brigade Combat Team, 101st Airborne Division of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The details of the vehicle testing were reported by the Army Times, citing remarks this week by Brian McVeigh, project manager for the Army's Force Protection Robotics portfolio. Mr. McVeigh spoke about the vehicle at the National Defense Industry Association's Ground Robotics Capabilities Conference. Army officials said in a news release that 4 companies were awarded contracts to make 20 of the vehicles, which will be tested by soldiers in the 2 brigades until the end of next year. An expedited contracting process was used as leaders pushed to get weight off the backs of dismounted soldiers, and requirements for the vehicle were limited to give more flexibility to developers. The only firm requirements were that the vehicle be able to haul 1,000 pounds off-road, cover 60 miles in 72 hours, and cost $100,000 or less each. The Army looks to pair the vehicles with soldiers across the service by 2025. The Army Times report can be found online, and you can read that particular article for yourself if you'd like. There's always good news. Sometimes we just have to look a little harder to find it than others, it seems. And some good news that I'm sure you've heard of by now, no doubt, is our little helicopter, our little airplane issue that became such a horrible ordeal. I cannot imagine having an engine fall off when you are in mid-flight. My goodness. I mean, can you imagine anything scarier? I can't, hardly. And only one person died, and that was the person that got sucked out through the opening that was made. U.S. Southwest passenger who died after major engine failure was identified as the Wells Fargo vice president and mother of 2. Business Insider Benjamin Zhang, Business Insider, 1 hour and 32 minutes or so ago. I guess that's Insider. 1 hour, 32 minutes ago was when he actually wrote the article from when it happened. The passenger who died on board Southwest Flight 1380, as we've mentioned, is survived by her husband and 2 children. She died on board of Southwest Airlines, and her name was Jennifer Riordan of Albuquerque, New Mexico. She was 43 years old and identified as the deceased passenger by an assistant principal at the Albuquerque school attended by her children, the Associated Press reported. She was a vice president of community relations at Wells Fargo since 2008, according to her LinkedIn page. She was in charge of the bank's public relations, internal communications, community involvement, as well as its work with nonprofits. Prior to that, she served in a similar position with Citigroup. Riordan was a graduate of the University of New Mexico. Her death was made public during a media briefing by National Transportation Safety Board Chairman Robert Sumwalt. An hour later, Southwest Airlines CEO Gary Kelly confirmed that a passenger had indeed passed away in a video message and press release. However, neither party revealed her identity. On behalf of the Southwest family, I want to extend my deepest sympathy for the family and the loved ones of our deceased customer, Kelly said in the video message. They are our immediate and primary concern, and we will do all that we can to support them during this difficult time. Southwest Airlines Flight 1380 suffered a catastrophic failure of its left engine while en route from New York's LaGuardia Airport to Dallas Lovefield. The Boeing 737-700 made an emergency landing at Philadelphia International Airport shortly before noon local time. Photos of the aircraft show the front portion of the CFM56-7B engine, including the fan blade, had sheared off completely. Shrapnel from the disintegrating engine punctured the fuselage and a window, causing the cabin to depressurize. 7 other passengers were also injured, but Riordan is the only fatality to result from the incident. Tammy Jo Schultz, the pilot of Southwest Flight 1380, is being held as a hero for safely landing the planes. Schultz previously was a Navy fighter pilot who was one of the first women to fly F-18s. What a woman, huh? What a hero. So there is good news in the world. We do have heroes of that kind in our world still. And to me, that makes this world all right. Still all right world. You know, we could be living in a lot worse place. I'm just glad we are where we are. We've been covering each war that America has been involved with from the earliest times, and it seems appropriate that we are now ready for the Civil War. April 4th, 1968 was when a great civil service leader was shot and killed. Most of us knew him as Martin Luther King. I remember the day I heard this tragic news, just like I remember the day that Kennedy was shot and killed. Those who stand against tyranny are often the ones to pay the biggest price. Freedom is never free. The price is high for human lives. So it would be with the Civil War. The Civil War resolved 2 fundamental questions left unresolved by the Revolution: whether the United States was to be a dissolvable confederation of sovereign states, or an indivisible nation with a sovereign national government, and whether this nation, born of a declaration that all men were created with an equal right to liberty, would continue to exist as the largest slave-holding country in the world. Hopefully most Americans know there was a Southern secession where many of the states left the Union. The states that left the Union are South Carolina, which left December 20th, 1860, Mississippi, January 9th, 1861, Florida, January 10th, 1861, Alabama, January 11th, 1861, Georgia, January 19th, 1861, Louisiana, January 26, 1861, Texas, February 1st, 1861, Virginia, April 17, 1861, Arkansas, May 6, 1861, North Carolina, May 20th, 1861, and Tennessee, June 8, 1861. At the beginning of the war, the northern states had a combined population of 22 million people. The southern states had a combined population of about 9 million. This disparity was reflected in the size of the armies in the field. The Union forces outnumbered the Confederates roughly 2-1. The event that triggered war came at Fort Sumter in Charleston Bay on April 12, 1861. Claiming this United States fort as their own, the Confederate Army on that day opened fire on the Federal garrison and forced it to lower the American flag and surrender. Lincoln called out the militia to suppress this insurrection. By the end of 1861, nearly 1 million armed men confronted each other along a line stretching 1,200 miles from Virginia to Missouri. Brother against brother, father against son, family against family, they stood on opposite sides. Up until September 1862, the main focus of the war had been to preserve the Union. With the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation, freedom for slaves now became a legitimate war aim. African Americans constituted 10% of the entire Union Army by the end of the war, and nearly 40,000 died over the course of the war. Northern victory in the war preserved the United States as one nation and ended the institution of slavery that had divided the country from its beginning. But these achievements came at the cost of 625,000 lives, nearly as many American soldiers as died in all the other wars in which this country has fought combined. It was only as recently as the Vietnam War that the amount of American deaths in foreign wars eclipsed the number who died in the Civil War. The bloodiest battles were Gettysburg, 51,000 casualties, Chickamauga, 34,624 casualties. Spotsylvania, 30,000 casualties. The Wilderness, 29,800 casualties. Chancellorsville, 24,000. Shiloh, 23,746 casualties. Stones River, 23,515 casualties. Anaheim, 22,717. Second Manassas, 22,180. And Vicksburg, 19,233 casualties. Too often, people take casualty and fatality to be interchangeable terms. In fact, the casualty is a military person lost through death, wounds, injury, sickness, internment, or capture, or through being missing in action. Essentially, a casualty is any soldier who goes into a fight and is not returned fit to take part in the next battle. Many soldiers, especially in the Confederate ranks, became casualties several times. Some soldiers were captured multiple times. Some were wounded in no consecutive engagements. Many consider July 4th, 1863, to be the turning point of the American Civil War. Two important, famous, well-documented battles resulted in Confederate defeats. The Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania, July 1 through 3, and the fall of Vicksburg, Mississippi, July 4th. However, two other major lesser-known events resulted in two additional Confederate defeats. Both losses, one in Tennessee and one in Arkansas, were influenced by the Vicksburg campaign. In Central Tennessee, Major General William S. Rosecrans, leading the United States Army of the Cumberland, faced General Braxton Bragg's Confederate Army of Tennessee. In early May 1863, the federal government feared that Bragg might send reinforcements to Vicksburg. To preclude this from happening, Rosecrans was ordered to begin an offensive in an attempt to tie down Confederate troops. In late June, Rosecrans moved southeast from Murfreesboro with 5 corps, totaling approximately 65,000 men. Bragg deployed 4 corps, totaling about 44,000 men, behind a ridgeline called the Highland Rim, covering the avenues of approach to Chattanooga and its rail hub. Though no large set-piece battle occurred, Rosecrans' skillful maneuvering through 4 passes and around Confederate flanks, forcing Bragg southeastward to Tullahoma, then Decherd, and finally across the Tennessee River July 4th. The Tullahoma campaign resulted in the Union conquest of central Tennessee. Historians find it interesting to note that Union technology played a role in the campaign, with several mounted infantry units being equipped with the 7-shot Spencer repeating rifle. The rifle's inventor, Christopher Spencer, gained an audience with President Abraham Lincoln, who subsequently invited him to a shooting match and demonstration of the weapon. Impressed with the rifle, Lincoln ordered it be produced for the Union Army in 1863. In its first combat test, Spencer armed Union troops under the command of Colonel John Wilder earned the nickname Lightning Brigade when they defeated a numerically superior Confederate force at the Battle of Hoover's Gap, Tennessee, June 24, 1863. 1 week later, Spencer rifles again saw action in the hands of troopers of the 5th Michigan Cavalry Regiment of General George Armstrong Custer's Brigade at the Battle of Gettysburg. With the new weapon, a rifleman could shoot up to 14 rounds per minute, as opposed to 3 rounds per minute with the traditional muzzle-loading musket. At Helena, Arkansas, Major General Benjamin Prentiss commanded about 4,000 Union troops assigned to the District of Eastern Arkansas. Earlier in June 1863, Prentiss had 16,000 troops siphoned off from his command to assist in the Vicksburg campaign. This situation pleased Lieutenant General Theophilus H. Holmes, commanding general of the Confederate District of Arkansas. He had about 7,000 men organized in 3 divisions to attack Helena in an attempt to take some pressure off Vicksburg. Helena was situated 230 miles north of Vicksburg on the west bank of the Mississippi River. Just to the west of the town was Fort Curtis, an earthen bastion. Additionally, 4 batteries of artillery were placed on hills in a semicircle. Floating close to the riverbank was the USS Tyler, a paddle-wheel steamer armed with 1 rifled gun and 6 smoothbore cannon. On the morning on July 4th, Holmes launched an uncoordinated attack bereft of reconnaissance and intelligence. The 3 divisions attacked from the northwest, west, and southwest. The battle was a Confederate disaster. Only 1 of the artillery batteries was taken, but Fort Curtis blunted any further advance. The USS Tyler provided naval gunfire support, lobbing over 400 rounds. Confederate dead, wounded, missing, and captured equaled approximately 20% of the attacking force. Union losses were 239. The Battle of Helena, coupled with the loss of Vicksburg, signaled the end of major Confederate operations in Arkansas, now cut off from the 8 states east of the Mississippi River. The Confederacy instituted the first draft in American history in April of 1862. It was clear that the South, with a total population of 9 million, including 4 million slaves, would have to muster all of its manpower to repel the North, which had an 1860 population of around 22 million. The Confederate draft exempted those who owned 20 slaves or more, however, arousing resentment against the poor whites who constituted the vast majority of the Army. Abraham Lincoln instituted a draft on the northern states a year later, likewise calling in all able-bodied 18 to 35-year-old men to serve. There were exemptions in the North, too, if those drafted could pay a significant fee or provide a substitute. Marie Tepe was one such courageous woman. Originally born in France in 1834, Marie was raised by her father and later moved to the United States following his death. When she was nearly 20 years of age, she married Bernhard Tepe of Philadelphia Taylor. When the Civil War began, her husband joined the 27th Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry Regiment. As soon as her husband left, so did Marie, despite Bernhard wanting her to stay and mind the tailor shop in Philadelphia. In the spring of 1861, Marie Tepe became a Vivandier with the 27th Pennsylvania Volunteers. She is better known as the Vivandier of the 114th Pennsylvania. The original company of that regiment was organized in the early weeks of August 1861 by Captain Charles H.T. Collis at the Zouaves d'Africa. Then in mid-August of 1862, Collis raised 9 more companies to form the 114th, with himself as colonel. Like the original company, the 114th was a Zouave unit based on the renowned North African and European Zouave regiments of the French army. The soldiers wore a Zouave uniform. So did Mrs. Tepe, who left the 27th and went with Collis's outfit. She wore a blue jacket and red pants to distinguish herself from the men. She wore a skirt trimmed in red. French Mary, as she was often called, participated in the Battle of Fredericksburg, December 13, 1862. During the battle, she received a bullet wound to the ankle. For her bravery during the battle, she received the coveted Kearney Cross, which was awarded to valorous veterans of the 1st Division of the 3 Army Corps in memory of its late division commander, General Philip Kearney. After a short hospitalization, she rejoined the regiment. In July 1863, Marie and her regiment joined the fight at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. When the battle was over, French Mary volunteered her services as a nurse to help the wounded. After a few weeks of tending to the injured, she continued on with her regiment. Marie Tepe served through the rest of the war and later moved to Pittsburgh. She attended the reunion of the Battle of Fredericksburg in 1893. The famous French Mary died in 1901. The Vivandiers who served in the Civil War showed great courage in the face of battle. These daring souls, like Marie Tepe, as are the forgotten women of the Civil War. They went above and beyond the duties of a Vivandier to serve their country. French Mary and other vividors earned the recognition and respect of their regiments. They deserve to be remembered. And there we have an excerpt from about the Civil War. So we will move on to the next war next week, and I'm hoping to also have a special presentation with a special guest next week. We'll see how that turns out. So I hope you all have a great week, and until then, have fun, everybody. Bye!